Intro music.
Overview narration. Overview narration.
Oh, doctor!
My name is James,
My name is Joey.
and this is the Brothers Padre. And before we start off, happy Father's Day, Joe.
Aw, thanks, James. So nice of you.
Yeah, what did your daughter give you?
My daughter got me a 4-pack of beer, some gum, M&Ms, and three kids' books.
3 kids' books.
Very-
Well, I mean, she's only, 8 months old? You don't expect too much out of her.
That's true. Yes, it was very sweet of her, James. Very, very sweet.
Very, very sweet. 3 kids' books.
Yeah.
What were the books?
One was a book about how to train her to say dada.
Okay.
Jimmy Fallon wrote a book. I didn't know this either. I guess he wrote children's books.
I did know that, yeah.
I didn't know that. So
So you had she got you Jimmy Fallon's book.
she got me a Jimmy Fallon book. She got me like the entire Star Wars, all 9 movies in a kid's book form.
Oh.
And then she also got me like kid books. They're often like indexes of normal everyday things. And it was an index of like fun photos of like technology things. So it'd be like, here's Wi-Fi, radio, Ethernet.
She knows you so well.
I know.
She had no outside help whatsoever.
Nope.
Nope. She probably picked your favorite beer too.
Yep.
Wow. Your daughter's a genius.
Yeah. Did very well. Good job. Bravo.
Yay!
But speaking of Father's Day, it's the Brothers Padre indeed, James. And it's another fine episode where we just sit back, have some discussions. And today we talk about the first thing, which is the Padres are doing good, James.
Yes.
We gave them some tough love.
I was going to ask you, when I serve you your giant dish of crow, do you want Parmesan on it? It comes free.
Last pod ended pretty negative. We were pretty over recapping how bad the Padres week was in that previous week. And I think our podcast contributed to this turnaround.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt that they listen to us.
Yeah.
You know what? They probably played our podcast on the plane back to San Diego.
I bet they did.
But here, guys, listen to how disappointed Joey and James are. And he pressed play, and they were all just like, "You gotta do better. God, do better for the Brothers Padre."
Yep.
I mean, the 150,000 plus people that stands the first 4 games probably helped a little bit, but I think we contributed.
I
more.
think we definitely did.
Yeah.
I think they're like, we need some of that witty banter back. They're just so negative. I will say, our adoring fans tend to text us after more negative pods than positive ones. So the rules of the internet says whatever drives engagement, you continue to do.
That's true. We did get, yeah. So
Sorry, folks. More negativity. We gotta get them likes. Gotta get them eyeballs.
Exactly. So if you do if you like positivity, hit the like button.
Oh, look at you. We'll go over the games, but Petco's been awesome past 5 games. Cincinnati Reds came in town, and then we've played 1 game of the Dodgers series so far. And dude, it's been insane. Just full houses.
It feels like they're the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. The players are playing well. Everybody's hitting right now. It's really good. I really can't wait for the breakdown episode. We'll break down every individual game to say how good everybody's doing right now.
Yeah.
But everyone's stepping into high gear. It's very good to see.
I'm not saying that we're a huge positive force for good for the Padres, but I will say that we were worried about Tommy Pham. Look who turned it around.
Exactly.
I said some words about Eric Hosmer. He had 1 big hit. So
he's had 5 hits over the last 4 days. That's 5 more than he had the last 30 days. So let's talk about.
I think we're movers and shakers, James.
We are definitely.
We're people of influence, I think is what people are. People
exactly.
are saying it. You're saying it. We're all saying it.
Exactly. Everyone agrees we are the best. Please, AJ Preller, come on our podcast or hire us.
Yeah.
We could be motivational speakers for the team.
We'll record private podcasts for the players to listen to.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
motivate them, to demotivate them, whatever's necessary.
Exactly. Exactly. We have a list of topics today, Joe.
Yes.
What are they?
So 5 in a row. Feeling good was number 1. We covered that, James. We're doing good, and like next episode, we'll go over recap how we're doing good. We'll go down to specifics, but very excited about that.
But needless to say, a lot of big time home runs.
Oh yeah. As is the thing to talk about around June, is the All-Star game is coming around in July, but we do All-Star voting. Currently, as it stands, the Padres have 1 for sure. 2 for probably for sure, which is Trent Grisham and Tatis, position player-wise. Tatis is leading all NL shortstops in votes. Not really a surprise. And Trent Grisham is, I think, 8th right now in outfield votes. And I think that we need to have 2 more as well position players also part of the All-Star game itself. And I think that's Jake Cronenworth and Manny Machado deserve to be part of the All-Stars as well.
I agree. I think, Manny Machado's stepping it up. His stats are better lately, but Jake Cronenworth's been consistent all year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's up to you, brothers Padre fans. We have 2 more days of voting. We have to get Cronenworth in there and also Machado.
Machado, there's no reason why. Personally, I know I'm a Padre fan, so obviously I think this about our second baseman and third baseman, but I think that Machado, if you just look at the last months of stats, definitely worthy of it. And even, in some ways, even Tommy Pham, too. Tommy Pham's last month has been awesome.
He's had the best on-base percentage of any major leaguer in the last 27 games. They showed that last night.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say vote. We need Cronenworth and Machado there. You can vote for every single Padre. I'm not saying don't vote for every single Padre, but I am saying specifically vote for Jake Cronenworth and Manny Machado.
And of course, Tatis Jr. We also want to get him 2 million votes.
Yeah, he's the starting for shortstop.
I know, but it would be nice to have him 2 million votes.
Dude is, as I tweet often from our account, underrated. But in this case, he's properly rated. He gets all those votes for a very defined reason. Someone mentioned this yesterday's game against the Dodgers. People said your expectations are so high for Tatis that when he has a 2 for 3 game with a walk, with a double and a single, a 2-run and stolen bases, you're like, he could have done better.
Yeah, exactly.
He could have done better. You're like, well, expectations are a little skewed.
Well, he's had 11 at-bats without a home run right now. He is overdue for a home run.
Slumping.
He is slumping.
Oh, man.
So, yes, go on. Cronenworth definitely deserves a second look. I think because if you look at the second baseman's best offensive second best offensive second baseman in the league is not first base, Max Muncy. I can't think of any other good second basemen in our league.
Chris Taylor from the Dodgers is good, but not. The problem is there's not like a clear like with shortstop. It's clearly there's one good offensive player. Second baseman is kind of like you could slice this a couple different ways and find a couple different quote unquote best offensive players at that position. And I don't know. I think that Cronenworth deserves to go in. Dude's a stud. He's had a couple great hits the past few days. I don't know. He deserves to come in. And Manny Machado is. There's a big thread. Mike Petriello from Baseball Savant was trying to tell people like Manny Machado shouldn't be considered for third base All-Star voting, and people kind of sliced it up. All-Star voting is weird because the person that's currently in the lead for third base has played third of his time this season at third base. So Chris Bryant is currently leading. He's had more starts in the outfield this year than third base. But he's leading the third base votes.
Interesting.
So you're kind of like, that's kind of weird. But just kind of like how the qualified positions start, how the qualified positions kind of are.
Well, it's
determined.
based off of the previous year's stats, not the current year's stats.
Right. So I think Manny should do it. Do your best. Go on MLB.com, vote 5 times, then go to Google.com and vote another time.
Yes, you can vote 6 times. And I've discovered if you have a VPN, you can vote as many times as you want.
Dude, crime pod.
And also, if you reset your computer and erase all your cookies, and then you use a different email address, you can vote again.
This is speculative. None of this is verified. We're just having a good laugh. Wow. Don't come at my door, FBI. Don't.
I'm not saying I voted for Jake Cronenworth 20 times today, but I've also voted for all the other Padres.
Go vote for the All-Star games. Vote for Padres All-Stars for the All-Star game because we want to see them be there because I think it's going to be a fun time. I think there should be more than one Padres position player there. It looks like Trent and Tatis will be there, but I think it should be Trent, Jake, Tatis, and Manny. How fun would that be? When's the last time we've had...
Especially since they're probably going to have... For pitching, we're probably going to have at least 2.
We'll probably have Darvish and Melanson at least.
Yes. Although Musgrove deserves to be in there as well.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, if you threw a no-hitter this year, you just should be invited, right? You had threw a no-hitter, so you're an all-star.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you just... Let's not get too tightly wound about the All-Star game. It's a crowd-pleasing event. So let's just, this was not on the agenda, but we did text about it. There's an event that might be more watched than the All-Star game itself, the day before the All-Star game. For those who are not new to baseball, it is the Home Run Derby, James. It is an exhibition event in which people compete in a tournament of hitting home runs. And this year it'll be in Denver, Colorado, so the home runs will be extra home running.
Yes, exactly.
James, Shohei Ohtani has said yes. No one else has come out and said who they're going to be a part of it yet. Vlad Jr. said he's not going to do it. So far it's Shohei and no one else yet. However, it is largely assumed that Tatis Jr. has been invited but has not announced yet his decision or the Padres' decision upon if he wants to go to the Home Run Derby. To which I ask you, James, should Fernando Tatis Jr. take part in the Home Run Derby? Sponsored by T-Mobile.
Is it really?
Ad. I'm pretty sure.
Just one of those for sure. That's deep. How do you figure that out? On one hand, I would love to see him just go head to head against a Tony and win. The other hand, I want him to be the healthiest he can be in the second half of the season, so we can win our division.
We should caveat all of this, of course, is that on Saturday,
yes,
he dove for a ball in the Reds game, and perturbed his shoulder again. Definitely not as bad as the first time he did it, because the first time it looked like someone shot him. This time it's just like, hurt my shoulder. Had full range of motion, but obviously he was a little bit of pain. Got pulled for a day and came back. So that largely colors our discussion is if he does do the Derby, is there a potential that he
hurts himself? Because players have been known to get hurt in the Home Run Derby, or they exhaust themselves in the Home Run Derby, and when they come back to the regular season, they are in like a 3-game, 4-game slump. Obviously, Tatis is 22 years old. He's a phenomenal talent and incredibly young. If Tatis says he's good with it, I'm good with it. But if Tatis came to ask me for my opinion, which I know he probably will.
We know we're in the aisles of influence, James.
Exactly. I would say no.
No.
I would send all your focus on helping the team and winning that MVP award. Again, if he thinks he's good enough, who am I to tell the kid no?
I think I'm probably the same with you. The idea of him being hurt the rest of the season, I don't like that idea.
No, neither do I.
I'm not a fan of that idea. I know that we have depth defensively there. Ha-Seong Kim is probably a better defensive player, flexibility wise. He moves around the diamond, and he makes up for Tatis defensively in shortstop, but just not the same. I mean, power threat is.
Oh no, and he's
not
also
even
a
close.
threat in the lineup. Everyone knows where he's. They're like, oh, I have to get him out. You've seen pitchers do this year. Like they'll throw better pitches to people ahead of him,
Right.
because they don't want to face Tatis Jr.
Yeah, and that's something that there's something Kim doesn't have and Cronenworth doesn't have, and so losing him the rest of the season would be devastating and it would hurt our playoff chances. Just would.
Absolutely, yes.
And so if it's something where the trainers are like, you're going to take 120 home run swings in a matter of 30 minutes, and you promise you won't dislocate and have a meniscus tear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. If it asked me, I'd say Tatis.
We love you, buddy. Come on our podcast.
This won't be the last time you're invited to the home run derby.
Oh, not even by a long shot.
How about you mash the crap out of the ball next year after you have surgery in the off season?
Correct.
That's what I would say. James,
Enough of this winter talk.
all fun and games, but we haven't talked about it. We have a division rival.
Well,
Well.
there's another team in our division.
who's faced some tough times. The Arizona Diamondbacks. They play out of Phoenix, Arizona. Are you familiar with the city, James? Phoenix?
I've been there a few times. I've even been to their stadium before.
So they play there and they travel a lot. And people are asking, why are you telling me this banal detail? Well, currently, when they travel away from their home of Phoenix, Arizona.
Are we about to talk about a world record?
Sorry?
We're about ready to talk about a world record. Call Guinness.
D-backs, when they are not in Phoenix, Arizona playing home games, are currently on a 23-game losing streak.
They have not won a game on the road since April 25th, when Madison Bumgarner threw the no-hitter.
It's one of those things when you watch a team, like, it can't be this bad. And they're a confusing team because they have a good offense, but their pitching just is the worst. Just so bad. They have at some point, I think it's still 4 of their 5 starting pitchers are injured. And so they're just throwing in guys.
Yeah, their only good starter is Madison Bumgarner, and for some reason, every time he goes on the mound, they can't score runs.
I think he's injured currently.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. I think their best starter is Merrill Kelly currently.
And he wasn't very good. The Padres lit him up.
It's just so it's a world record. It's the longest road stretch of losing games in MLB history. And it's impressive in a lot of ways.
It really is. How do you fail that hard?
And it's never. Here's what's confusing about it. If you go on MLB.com and look at their record, and you're like, I just thought there would be a lot more blowout games. And it's kind of the same story. It's most of the time. It's like they get a lead early, and then the bullpen just has no idea how to hold on to a lead. Like, there was one time they were beating the Giants in the 8th inning. They were up by 8, I think. Yeah, it was 7-1.
7-1.
And then it went to 8-1. And the Giants come back, beat them 9-8. And like, they load the bases and Mike Yastrzemski's out. And like, surely this is like their win. They're just going to get him out. And they throw a cookie down the middle for Mike, and he just hits one to the ocean. Like, what is wrong with this team? And the problem is, like, their hitters are still fine. Like, and they still are at lineup. You can't just. What's confusing to me is it's like there are teams like the Orioles that have like one or two good hitters, and you're like, I just gotta worry about those guys. And then you have the Diamondbacks who have Ketel Marte, David Peralta, Asdrubal Cabrera, Christian Walker, and Carson Kelly. And those are all decent hitters. And so there's some stress the opposing pitcher always has to have because those are good hitters.
And Escobar, don't they have Escobar?
Yeah, Eduardo Escobar, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, those are all good hitters, all major league hitters.
Well, because all 6 of those players are rumored, there are teams rumored to want to trade for them.
Yeah.
Because they're good. So the Diamondbacks might end up trading at least 2 of them to get prospects to build their team up. So both the Diamondbacks and the Rockies said basically at the beginning of the year is like they realize they can't compete against the Giants, Padres, and Dodgers. So they're just going to start the rebuild process. It's just, and both teams really stink this year. And the Rockies still play at home.
So they have that advantage. Yeah. Just like.
But the thing is that happened yesterday was the Diamondbacks finally won a game at home.
Yeah, I forgot to say this. They were also on a 17-game losing streak. But they finally snapped that yesterday at home.
They still haven't won on the road for 23 games. Right. They just snapped their 17-game losing streak.
Absolute bananas.
They're on pace to lose 110 games this year.
Oh my goodness, dude. I don't know, man.
Basically, this all leads up to, you know who's coming to town this weekend?
To me, it gives me anxiety. Grant Brisby tweeted about this. He's like, nothing scares me more than a team on a big losing streak. And it's sort of true. You're like, something's got to turn around at some point. And no one wants to be that guy.
No one wants to be the one that loses it, yeah.
No one wants to be the guy being like, yeah, the Diamondbacks beat us 3-2. They snapped their 23-game losing streak. Oh, man. They're coming to town this weekend from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. After our off day on Thursday. I think, unless their starting pitching people come back from IL, it's the same problem exists. They have guys that are way overused and just guys that just don't deserve, I shouldn't say that don't deserve to be in the major leagues, just not ready to be in the major leagues yet, being put in positions they're just not battle tested for. And so they just get destroyed, and it's largely, watching them is really trippy because it reminds me of the old Padres teams a lot. But
well, this feels like something the Padres would have done
right
5 years ago.
But we've never, like, those 6 players, like that we just mentioned, like, we never had a lineup that decent and that during times where we're that bad. That's the trippy part about all of it.
Well, the thing is,
yeah,
it's really hard to win a big league baseball game.
Yeah,
nobody. That's famously our former manager Bud Black would say whenever somebody would ask him, "Are you going to win tonight?" And he would always, his answer is still this day in Colorado, it's really hard to win a Major League Baseball game. It's also really hard to lose 23 in a row.
It's bananas. The amount of
just cosmic unfortune and bad luck that has to come into being that bad, because the Padres were beaten by the Pirates this year. The Pirates are the 4th worst team in baseball.
Yep. This past weekend, Kyle Schwarber, Cedric Mullins, Shohei Ohtani, and Adam Duvall hit more home runs, 17, than the Diamondbacks have since May 23rd. From Jared Carabas on Twitter. Cosmic misfortune.
Cosmic misfortune.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think their manager's going to have a job next year.
I don't know. I mean, how do you manage losing 4 of your 5 starting pitchers? I like Torey Lovello, the head coach of the Diamondbacks. I think he's a fine manager, but I don't know how you manage. Imagine if we lost
4 of our 5 starting pitchers.
Imagine if it was the NLDS in the wild card series.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine that at all. Can't imagine. Oh, look, there's our best starter. He's down. There's the star stud that we traded for. He's down. Oh.
This is fine. This is fine. It's that meme of the dog in the fire room. That's what it was. This is fine. Everything's fine.
Yes, it's just fine. It's just fine. Yeah, that was again. It's the only reason why we're talking about it is because it's such a fluky thing about baseball to have a team and just to have a team that bad. It's truly shocking.
Yeah,
and we've been privy to a lot of really bad Padre teams.
Yeah, I just what's surprising to me is they just don't. They just don't know how, like, no lead is safe with them. Their bullpen has such a hard time holding on to leads. I was going to look up some of the scores, and it's just hard. I mean, I imagine being a Diamondbacks fan just pretty heartbreaking right now. Yeah, lost in San Francisco, lost 2-5, 8-9, 7-13, 3-10, LA 0-3, 3-9, 8-9. Like they're scoring runs.
They're scoring runs. And against the Dodgers.
When they were the Angels came to town, it was 5-6, 7-8, and 3-10. Like one game they were beaten, but the other one, like, there's so many one-run games. Milwaukee 5-7, 0-2, 4-7, 1-5. New York Mets were in town 6-5, 6-7. Dude. Dude. You just would expect to see like 13-0, 15-0. Shoot. That's rough.
That is
That's rough. That's super rough.
But luckily, we're in a good team.
Yes. And hopefully when they come into town, we'll continue their misery. I don't like saying that, but I want that.
I mean, maybe we only win by 3 runs.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe every game we win by 3 runs.
Exactly.
10 or 7.
Yeah. But again, if we do smack them around really hard, it's not like we were the first.
True.
But here, let me say one thing. Say they do beat us.
Say what?
We lose 1 game to the Diamondbacks this weekend.
Yeah.
And then we win the World Series. That's the kind of thing that people hang their hat on as fans. Yeah, well, we sucked last year, but we beat the World Series champions once.
They have 1 win against us. They won Game 4 against us. The 4th game of the year against us.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But that's before all the starters went down.
Man, oh man. Yep. But they come into town and hopefully make them sadder. Sorry, Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're sadder.
Luckily, it's not that far of a trip between Phoenix and San Diego.
True.
Yep.
They don't drive over.
They fly.
They definitely fly.
Well, yeah, they could take a 6-hour bus flight or an hour-and-a-half flight.
Yeah, never mind. That was a silly statement.
Silly man. silly man.
Mr. James, you want to lead us into our next topic?
Yes. So, as we've been talking about the last 2 episodes, Joey and I have been working on a new stat for baseball, and we've written out the rules. And so I want to give over the rules, and then we're going to try to work on getting it implemented on StatCast and stuff like that to see if we can actually do this. So, Joey, do you want to give me a drum roll? Thank you. All right, so.
I didn't know how that was going to work. Hopefully it comes up on the mics.
All right, so the 2 rules that we are going to implement are umpire errors, or UE, or umpire-induced runs, or UIRs. So, what is an umpire error, you might ask?
Hey, James, real fast. Guy over there. What's an umpire error?
I'm glad you asked, Joe. So, or random person I just met. An umpire error will be called if an umpire misses a 3rd strike call or a ball 4 call.
Hey, mister, I see you across the room. What is this UIR you speak of?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, random person wearing a Joshua Tree hat. Anyways, a UIR stands for umpire-induced runs, and there are a few things that go along with it. A UIR occurs when a player reaches base on an umpire error. If a player is walked on an umpire error, that player will be scored as an umpire, and if he scores, he will be under a umpire-induced run, which means if, say, it's a ball, he pitches at three balls, and it pitches like right down the middle, and the ball umpire calls a ball and walks him. He's now an error or a UIR, which means if he scores, it does not go against the pitcher's ERA because it's not the pitcher's fault while he's on base. It's much like when a pitcher comes on in a relief and there's already hitters on base. If those guys score, that's not his fault. It's on the pitcher that got him on that base. Also, if an umpire fails to call out batter on a third strike, so meaning Joey, let's say you are 0-2.
I'm often 0-2 in life.
Okay, calm down. Calm down. All right, so you're okay. You're 1-2. A pitch is, right down the middle. He calls it a ball.
Yeah.
You should have been out. The pitcher did his job. That is an umpire error, and you are now a UIR. Everything you do at bat will be a UIR. So if you hit a home run,
right, that's UIR.
That's a UIR.
If I walk, if I score, it's UIR.
Whatever it is, it's UIR. So if you say you're up to bat and bases are loaded,
right,
all four of those runs are now charged UIR. Does not affect the pitcher's ERA because it's not the pitcher's fault; it's the umpire's fault. And then the big one is if it is a second, if there's two outs and you're at bat. And say it's 2-2 and the pitcher throws a strike on the corner. It's clearly in the zone. We all have access to seeing this. It's on. It's been on Major League TV, Major League Baseball broadcast since the 90s. That strike zone. It's clearly a strike. That means, and if it's a second out, anything that happens from that point on, any run is a UIR.
I like it. So kind of like So an umpire error is much akin to a fielder error. For example, like for yesterday, Jake Cronenworth had to wear a misplay at first base, allowed for a runner to get on base, and then actually led up to the bases weren't loaded. It was just first and third, right? It was first and third. Darvish had basically allowed another single, and so if any of those runs scored, if Will Smith hit a home run with those two runners on base, none of those would have affected his ERA. Those have all been 3 run, not 3 earned runs.
Correct.
But in this case, we're reversing it. So the umpire, if an error happens, he gets charged. It's very similar. Umpire error allows someone on base. Every subsequent run, if it's 2 outs, then will become the umpire-induced error. Run.
So we can now look at stats to say that umpire has given up 30 runs this year on UIRs.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it doesn't affect the pitcher's stats. And the whole purpose of this rule is to make the umpires accountable. The umpires have always had attitude, and they always want to be bigger than they are in the game. And if they want to be that way,
Your hatred towards the umpire. I don't like a lot of umpires, but you don't like umpires.
it's not that I understand their job.
I like the stat.
I understand their job.
Your feelings are just making me laugh.
Okay, fine.
Go ahead.
I understand their job and their function.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If they screw up, it's only human to screw up. But it's when they have an attitude about it, when somebody says, hey, that was clearly in the strike zone. There is accountability for everything that happens in baseball. If those guys would have scored on that error, there's accountability. It's not the pitcher's fault. There is no accountability for umpires. And if umpires continue to want to be a part of this game, they should be held accountable as everybody else in the diamond. They are not above reproach. So that is the stat. I'm very proud of this. It took me all week to come up. Not really, but our tech guy is trying to implement it in StatCast, but he's just really lazy and slow and doesn't do anything at all.
I don't know. I mean, they are extremely, overloaded. Too much work, too much other stats to deal with. I think at first we can obviously mention it in our Padres games very easily. We've been texting it back and forth. It's an umpire error, and then we can kind of say, hey, this is an entire umpire-induced run very easily.
Exactly.
So, I'm definitely going to do. It's me, obviously. I'm the tech person. I'm going to do this, kind of like do this analysis with it. I think at first it'll be easier to do Padre games first and then work outward. And the ERA one's going to be interesting because it probably should be like an umpire adjusted ERA because obviously we can't force the baseball world to adopt our ERA set metric, but we can.
We can if it's implemented and people start talking about it. That's why if it's a proven
James,
stat,
ERA is not going to change. That's like saying batting averages. Well, field of choices are now part of that. That breaks like every baseball stat book, like the book over there and MVP machine that on my bookshelf right now. You just laugh in their faces. Ha 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 ha. James, I'm excited about this. I actually think it's gonna be a lot of fun to do. I'm very excited to cook this up and to look at the data. I'm a big data guy.
And once we have the data and once we have it on StatCast so people can look it up and do this for themselves, like I said, we're going to try to tweet it at as many people as we can.
We know. We all know.
I know. This is going to be really cool. But we need some feedback, ladies and gentlemen. And don't just text us if you have our numbers.
Yeah, I think it's... I mean, so what's interesting, I don't want this to be... So you know this phrase often, to err is human and to forgive is divine. You like the first part. I like the second part. Because I think this is not a building block of judgment. It's a building block of improvement. Because I would love to see in 3 years down the line, umpire errors go down, umpire-induced runs are non-existent, and we look like the idiots because we are tracking a stat that no one cares about because they're so good and we help them improve.
Okay. Well, when you stop living in unicorn land, let's talk about sports, where hardcore stats are the way of the game of every game.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I mean, so there is a good Twitter account. Is it Umpire Scorecard on Twitter? They do a really good job of like basically showing missed calls in the game and like inside and outside zone accuracy. And so I would definitely recommend if you guys are interested in some of this stuff, like they're doing a pretty good job of judging accuracy, whereas we're doing more different. We're judging like how, and they kind of do the same thing where they kind of say, hey, what would what runs would influence, like what calls influence what runs? But we're being very specific about like this specific call with this specific outcome. And I'm interested to see how it goes because I think it'd be alarming to see how bad it is.
Exactly.
But maybe it's all stupid. 'Cause next year the automated strike zone comes out, and then
it won't. So
you don't think it's going to be next? You don't think the automated strike zone will come next year?
I don't know, and this is why we got to get it implemented as soon as possible, and we got to get a hold of those guys at Umpire Scorecard as well because they would love this stat. It would go right up their alley. Here's the thing about. There's going to be a lot of things negotiated over the offseason. It's a new collective bargaining agreement. Mm-hmm. Every time this happens, people always talk about, are they going to strike? For sure, people are going to be complaining about the sticky substance debacle that happened.
Right.
Or they implemented it when they said they weren't going to implement it. People are upset. People are getting hurt. That's all going to come down. People are upset that the umpires now have the ability to search them. Every pitcher's coming off the field, the umpires are checking them out.
James, you broke your rule. I'm just going to call you out on it. You said you weren't going to talk about it unless something happened.
So, you asked the question.
This sticky substance 5? Are we a sticky substances pod? Is this all we talk about?
You asked the question. I'm trying to answer why I don't think the electronic strike zones will happen.
Your mind naturally went to sticky substances, huh?
Because of everything that's happening, that's going to be the big thing on everyone's mind during the offseason for negotiations. I don't think electronic strike zones will be even discussed in the winter meetings.
Makes me sad, but I think you're right.
I know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just unilaterally say, "Hey, we're going to start doing it in Double A," because it's in the Independent Atlantic League, which MLB owns. But if they start doing it in the earlier, like lower A leagues, I don't know. That might be messed up though, right? Because if you train all these catchers not to frame, but then you get to a higher level and then they have to frame,
They'd have to do it. They have to implement it.
they have to do it
throughout.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to do all throughout it. But yeah. Look forward. TBD when our tech guy finds time
Exactly.
to run the data.
He keeps using the excuse that he has a child. You have a child and you can still do things.
Yes. It's like you're talking about me like I'm Jekyll and Hyde. Like, yeah.
Either way, your daughter's still the hero.
That's true. I'm excited, James. Look into this data. A big fan. And yeah. James, we're out of topics. We're topicless.
Oh, no.
In a topic-full land. I want to ask you another question. Came to my mind while we were discussing it. And that discussion was going to be about parking and dealing with large crowds. So this is related, I swear. It's not just some indictment on society. So bear with me. I was blessed enough to go to a game on Sunday, but I was not blessed enough to have the foresight to realize 40,000 people is a lot of people. So it took me like an hour to get into the game. Took us 2 hours to get food. We still had a good time, but it was rough. It wasn't a good time. I'll be honest with you.
Well, it's the first time downtown has had to deal with this traffic in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's the first time the ballpark has had to deal with this traffic in 2 years. As somebody who used to work at a movie theater,
Yeah.
the first couple of weeks, because you have these giant slow seasons
Yep.
where nothing happens for 2 or 3 months. Yeah, you're okay busy. Then all of a sudden the holidays hit and you're packed. The first couple of weekends, you just forget how busy you are.
Yeah.
And that's clearly what's happened. The people behind the concession stands have forgotten what 4,000, 40,000 people feel like.
Yeah.
It's a big bunch of people. Yeah. And one of the biggest problems with the traffic getting into downtown was they guessed that there was an additional 15 to 20,000 people that just went to hang out downtown at the time to watch the game downtown at a bar. So rough math, if everybody took their own car, that's 40,000 in the stadium. An extra 15,000, that's 55,000 cars were in that downtown. So the key is what we're trying to say, folks. Park at a trolley station and trolley in. It's the best way to go to downtown.
So my question wasn't going to be around that. I have lots of thoughts around it. For one, I think that it's awesome to see that many people in the stands. It is, in some ways, it was very intimidating. I was like very intimidated because like I've never been close. It's been. I want to keep this podcast evergreen, so I'll explain. The past 16 months, we weren't allowed to be next to people.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, I go to an event.
If you are unaware, ladies and gentlemen, we've been in a global pandemic, and what that means is we were all stuck inside and nobody got to hang out with each other.
We've been lucky enough to go games this year in limited capacity. And that felt like, oh, we're around people. That wasn't around people.
No.
A full house of Petco Park, I was like, everyone's around me. Everyone's breathing on my neck. Like, is it okay? Are we going to die? And it was fun. I just was so intimidated. And then I was thinking, I kind of liked the limited capacity. It was cool to have a little bit of elbow room, It wasn't as loud. Electricity wasn't there. So the question is, James, what is the ideal sports viewing experience if you could make one? Is it you're just what it is now, which is, playoff atmosphere-esque, full capacity state crowds? Or is it a more expensive game where like you spend more money, but there's less people? So it's, you spend $100 a ticket or $200 a ticket for the outfield tickets, but you're better service, or it's just sitting at home.
So in my lifetime, I have been fortunate enough to experience baseball games in private booths with certain bosses and that have purchased an entire, skybox. That's a fine way to experience a game. You get to see how the other half lives.
I think it's funny. I think it's half.
Anyways, it's okay. I understood, but there was. Were you at that game with us when we went Skybox? I can't remember. But anyways,
I was Skybox at the queue.
Okay, that's right. Because your company.
Sorry,
because of your company.
Oh, the queue. No, I've never been. My company has never. Well, yeah. I won't go into too much, but my company definitely would not do that.
Okay. Anyway, so anyway, skyboxes are a great thing. I would love to go one again, but that's not my ideal experience.
Yeah. What is your ideal experience?
If the best baseball game I have ever been to, was Game 4 of the National League Championship in 1998, when the Padres were on the verge of sweeping the Braves.
Yeah.
There was 75,000 people at Qualcomm Stadium cheering sweep every 5 minutes. We ended up losing the game. We won in Atlanta the next day, but that was the best game I've ever been to. The crowd was so electric. I would rather go to a packed house atmosphere, playoff atmosphere, any day of the week. The 3 hours it takes you to get there, the 3 hours it takes you to leave, are all erased. Because I'm pretty sure I was 15 at the time, so obviously our dad drove me and him over there. Of course the drive was bad. Of course we were in traffic forever.
Right.
I don't remember
Qualcomm traffic was the absolute worst.
It was. I don't remember any of that because I was in a big. Jim Larratt's hit a home run that landed two rows below me. Right. All right, it was the most electric feeling I've ever had in my life. And no, I'd rather go to a sold out stadium. I think there are easier ways to get into the ballpark and anywhere than the way you did it, which was like a fool. And basically, I'm getting a lot of bitterness from you because you had to get stuck in traffic.
I just was like, so I agree with you. Obviously, if someone gives me a playoff baseball ticket for free, I'm not going to say, I'd rather watch it at home. I'm going to go to the playoff game. Let's just be clear here. But it was interesting where it's like, I think it's specifically like a driving problem. But it was interesting because it was such like a different experience than I've been a part of for so long. And I was like, wow,
it's overwhelming being around people, isn't it?
And I mean, literally, I was on the road to get to the parking structure for an hour, just like waiting to get into the parking structure.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Just because of my job I'm currently in, have not been around people.
Yes, correct.
In fact, I've been around more people than usual because of my job.
Right. I have been at home.
Because you made better life choices. You have a better career than I do. So no, I'm not unaccustomed to large groups of people around me, even around this year. I don't know what you're complaining about. You went to a ball game with your lovely wife.
I had a lot of fun. It was Father's Day. My wife's like, I'll get us food. And
you didn't see her until this afternoon.
And then I was like, where is she? I texted her like, well, I'm in line. Text her any later. I'm still in line. Are you getting closer? No. I went and got her a snack for her in line and a beer. And I sat back down.
Why didn't you get food when you were there at the place you got snacking?
Because there's like faster line stuff that has drinks and like peanut butter. Not peanut butter. No one orders peanut butter.
I know.
Peanuts and Cracker Jacks and like drink stands, like little like
I know,
convenience store like counters basically. They don't sell other food. They just sell, garbage snacks. But my lovely wife was like, I'll stand in line and get you food. It's Father's Day. I want you to have a good time. But it was so bad, I had to get her a pit stop in the middle of her line experience for food. It was like, what? She literally sat down in the 5th inning. And she's like, where's Nelson Lamet? He's out. He's not pitching anymore.
He did a good job. But
she did see her crush hit a quasi inside the park home run. So
that's all good.
All was good. Yeah, I think the one funny anecdote about the game is also readjustment. A guy behind me, I think Jonathan India or Jesse Winker, one of those Reds, hit a ball that a screaming liner that looked like it was going to be a home run just from our vantage point. And the guy behind me said, shit. And he's like, oh, shit, I can't say that, huh? I can't say that, huh? He looks around. He's like, I'm just not used to being around people so much. I was like, that's pretty funny.
So what you're saying is you need to adjust to be around people, and you brought this up in the podcast for what reason?
I mean, it's a therapy pod.
Okay, all right.
It's a therapy pod.
So let me finish with. I'd rather be around people, but if I can't be around people, and if I'm not on the road, and listening to the game, the best way to experience the game is on TV with Don and Mud. The broadcast booth.
For sure. Yeah.
All due respect to Jesse Aguilar and Tony Gwynn Jr., you guys are great. But Don and Mud are fantastic.
I mean, it was fun watching the games when Padres are bad because they are such dorks and they make it entertaining. And, I agree. I very much agree. But I'm excited to get readjusted again because it is awesome hearing that crowd. There's a beat writer, MLB beat writer I follow on Twitter, Kyle Glazer, and he said I haven't heard it's insane being a crowd this loud in San Diego. He's never heard any San Diego crowd ever be this loud. And the Padres are good, and they beat the Dodgers last night, and they were very, very loud. And so I'm excited to be accustomed to that and go to games that are like, oh yeah, it's okay to have people spill beer on you right next to you, right? That's the name of the game, baby. That's what you do for love of the game. As Aristotle once said, you do it for love of the game. And with that, James.
I don't. Okay.
People come for my witty quotes, which are always accurate. I'll leave with one more. This Padres team, they've got great expectations, just like Charles Dickens once said.
Like the what? Here's one for you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Like the late great Biff Tannen would say, "Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?"
We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Overcast. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter @BrothersPadre.
Hit the like button and comment about what you think the umpire rules should be. If you have any ideas. Tell your friends. Let's start a movement. Until then, go Padres.
Go Padres.
There it is. Oh, doctor, you can hang a star